Your empty bank account is a direct result of your brain's evolutionary failure to adapt. Look at two men starting at zero. One dies broke. The other builds an empire. The difference isn't effort. It's a fundamental break in their internal architecture. Most of you are biologically programmed to trade your future for immediate social safety. While he ignores the crowd, you are drowning in the need to look significant. Your brain equates spending with survival. This is the ultimate evolutionary trap. To escape, you must manually override the very impulses that kept your ancestors alive. The wealthy aren't smarter. They've simply learned to ignore a signal you find irresistible. There is a specific glitch in human perception that 99% never see. And that signal is currently draining your net worth every single second you remain unaware. You've been told that sweat is the currency of success. That is the first lie. Effort without direction is just friction, and friction only generates heat, never movement. Look at Mio. 12 hours of manual input, zero equity. He is burning life force. The glitch? The harder you pull the rope, the faster it burns your palms. Hustle culture is a feedback loop designed to keep the engine running on your exhaustion. Without a psychological framework, your brain treats $100 earned through labor as a death sentence. Focus. The architecture of your wealth starts with the architecture of your ego. Wealth isn't about working harder. It is about building things that work while you sleep. Most people quit because they mistake fatigue for failure. They are biologically wired to stop. But the real danger isn't your exhaustion. It is the prehistoric voice screaming at you to belong. Your brain is a prehistoric survival machine, trapped inside a concrete cage. In the tribe, status wasn't vanity. It was your right to the meat. Today, that meat is a leased engine and a stitched designer logo. You aren't buying luxury. You're buying proof that you aren't dying. Social rejection meant literal death. Your DNA still remembers the cold. So you spend, you signal, you bleed capital, just to feel safe. Every purchase releases a chemical lie. You belong. You are secure. But in the brutalist reality of math, that security is a debt-funded mirage. The self-made must commit social suicide to survive the coming collapse. To stop being the prey, you must first kill the persona you've built. To escape zero, you must first kill the version of you that consumes. The consumer is a puppet, dancing to the rhythm of social validation. Your ego is the debt collector you never agreed to pay. The first 10,000 isn't a financial milestone. It's a funeral. Meet the architect. They don't buy things. They build systems. While others lease their identity, the architect owns their silence. The world rewards the look of success. Math rewards the substance. Mio is now invisible. This is the most dangerous phase. In the shadows, internal architecture begins to override biological impulse. But building the foundation requires one more tool, a distortion of time itself. Most people's internal clock is calibrated to the next 48 hours. The weekend is the finish line. The prize is immediate dopamine. But time isn't a circle. It is a biological lever. The wealthy view a decade as a single, indivisible unit of work. They trade the comfort of now for the gravity of forever. This is the time perception glitch. It breaks the consumer's leash. When your horizon stretches, the present loses its power to distract you. You stop buying status symbols to fill a boring Saturday night. You begin buying back decades of freedom you haven't lived yet. But this temporal shift comes at a devastating, silent social cost. Wealth is a lonely room. To enter, you must pay the tribe tax. When you stop signaled spending, your peer group treats you like a ghost. FOMO is just the lizard brain fearing exile from the cave. To the unglitched mind, a quiet Friday is a clinical failure. But silence is the sound of capital accumulating in the dark. Most people cannot handle the friction of being the boring friend. You aren't losing friends. You are outgrowing a defective operating system. Crabs in a bucket don't hate the escapee. They hate the reminder. Your growth highlights their decay. That is why they pull you back. But social isolation is only phase 1. Next, we examine your internal poisons. Your poverty isn't a math problem. It's a series of behavioral micro-leaks. Every minor convenience purchase signals your brain that you have already won. Comfort is the most efficient repellent of true wealth ever engineered. The phrase, "I deserve this," is the psychological anthem of the broke. When your environment reflects chaos, your internal architecture follows suit. A static life is a dying life. Movement requires friction, not fluff. Your brain seeks equilibrium. For most, that equilibrium is a comfortable 0. Every hour consuming someone else's output is a vote for your irrelevance. The glitch is subtle. Choosing right now over for always. Identify the leaks, and you can finally start to rewire the reward. Your brain is a dopamine addict. It craves the hit of the new purchase. Each buy button press triggers a biological reward for doing absolutely nothing. The loop is a parasite. It drains your capital while feeding your ego. To win, you must hijack the circuit. You must crave the numbers, not the things. Redirect the dopamine. Feel the rush of an increasing balance, not an increasing closet. The asset becomes the hit. The equity becomes the status symbol. This is a neural rewiring. You are killing the consumer to birth the architect. Stop seeing money as currency. Start seeing it as a soldier in your army. When you find joy in the invisible gear, the trap finally loses its grip. But the hijack is only the beginning. Now, you must learn to bet your life. Your brain treats every financial risk like a life-threatening predator. It's a biological error. Gambling is hoping for luck. Asymmetric betting is forcing the mathematics of probability. 99% of people cannot distinguish a casino floor from a strategic pivot. Can you? Real risk isn't loss. Real risk is staying still. That is a guaranteed decay. In your 20s, the downside is temporary. The upside is generational wealth. Calculate it. Limit the floor. Remove the ceiling. That is the only architecture that matters. Fear is just a physiological misfire, a software bug in your ancestral hardware. The difference between YOLO and leverage is the presence of a cold exit strategy. If you don't bet on asymmetry now, you are betting on mediocrity forever. But once the bet is placed, a deadlier enemy emerges: the silence of the plateau. Welcome to the plateau, the graveyard, where most dreams go to die quietly. Is doing everything right. But the needle hasn't moved in months. Your biology interprets this silence as a signal of total failure. The brain craves novelty. This repetition feels like a slow-motion death. Most people quit here. They mistake a lack of noise for stagnation. Fatigue is the filter. It separates the consumer from the architect. Under the surface, the invisible gear is finally beginning to catch. Steady, rhythmic, like a pulse. The boring middle is where the self-made are actually manufactured. But to survive the grind, you must break the one impulse that defines your species. We return to the gap. The two men at zero. One is now free. The difference wasn't luck or effort. It was a surgical psychological deletion. The deletion of the biological need to be witnessed by the tribe. Most people are walking advertisements for their own insecurity. They buy to exist. The glitch is this: decoupling your self-worth from the gaze of others. While the crowd screams for attention, the architect builds in the dark. This is the biological impulse you must break: the fear of being invisible. At 0 point, invisibility isn't a curse. It is the ultimate strategic advantage. When you stop signaling, you start accumulating. The internal architecture stabilizes. But breaking the glitch comes with a cost. You are now a ghost in their machine. The glitch isn't a secret. It's a choice to be socially invisible. You stop performing for a crowd that was never really watching anyway. Validation is the currency of the broke. Leverage is the currency of the free. You are now an architect in a world of decorators. You cannot play act. To maintain this architecture, you must secure your psychological perimeter from noise. The majority will never forgive you for leaving the tribal simulation. They crave the chains you've broken. They fear the silence you've embraced. This is the burden. Once the glitch is seen, it cannot be unseen. You are no longer a consumer. You are the invisible variable in their equation. Welcome to the 0 point. The system is yours to rebuild. End of transmission.